That's okay. Hey everyone, I'm Jason, and this is your commentary on Genesis chapter 30. Rachel saw that she couldn't have any children by Jacob, so she became jealous of her sister. She said to Jacob, "Give me children or I'll die." Jacob became angry with her. He said, "Do you think I'm God? He's the one who has kept you from having children." Okay, now just as a sharp contrast, a couple chapters before, Rebekah couldn't have any children. And Isaac's response was not, "Do you think I'm God?" Isaac didn't become angry. Instead, he prayed for his wife, and God opened up her womb and allowed her to have children. Jacob doesn't have that same consideration. Then she said, "Here's my servant Bilhah. Make love to her so that she can have children for me. Then I too can have a family through her." Okay, we already know this isn't going to end well. Sarah, back with Abraham, gave Hagar to Abraham so that she could have children through Hagar. And then she had Ishmael. And there's a whole lot of jealousy that went on. It did not go well. So she gave him her sibling Bilhah as a wife. Jacob made love to her, and Bilhah became pregnant. She had a son by him. Then Rachel said, "God has stood up for my rights. He has listened to my prayer and given me a son." So she named him Dan. Rachel's servant Bilhah became pregnant again. She had a second son by Jacob. Then Rachel said, "I've had a great struggle with my sister. Now I've won." So she named him Naphtali. Leah saw that she had stopped having children, so she gave her servant Zilpah to Jacob as a wife. Now they're just competing, both giving up their concubines and servants. It doesn't end well. Okay. Leah's servant Zilpah had a son by Jacob. Then Leah said, "What a good fortune." So she named him Gad. Leah's servant Zilpah had a second son by Jacob. Then Leah said, "I'm so happy, the women will call me happy." So she named him Asher. While the wheat harvest was being gathered, Reuben went out into the fields. He found some mandrake plants. He brought them to his mother Leah. Rachel said to Leah, "Please give me some of your son's mandrakes." Now she's asking for this because of a superstition that the mandrakes actually increase fertility. But Leah said to her, "Isn't it enough that you took my husband away? Are you going to take my son's mandrakes too?" Rachel said, "All right, Jacob can make love to you tonight if you give me your son's mandrakes." So now Jacob is just being passed around. When Jacob came in from the fields that evening, Leah went out to meet him. "You have to sleep with me tonight," she said. "I've bought you with my son's mandrakes." So he made love to her that night. Now, it's interesting, Jacob doesn't seem to care one way or another. He just goes wherever he's told and sleeps with whoever he's told. He has no real discretion in the matter. God listened to Leah. She became pregnant and had a fifth son by Jacob. Then Leah said, "God has rewarded me because I gave my female servant to my husband." So she named the boy Issachar. Leah became pregnant again. She had a sixth son by Jacob. Then Leah said, "God has given me a priceless gift. This time my husband will treat me with honor. I've had 6 sons by him." So she named the boy Zebulun. Sometime later she had a daughter. She named her Dinah. Then God listened to Rachel. He showed concern for her. He made it possible for her to have children. She became pregnant. She had a son. She said, "God has taken my shame away." She continued, "May the Lord give me another son." So she named him Joseph. Okay, this entire thing is like a scene from Jerry Springer. You have Jacob, the 2 wives, the 2 concubines. You're up to 11 sons so far, plus Dinah, the daughter. There's jealousy all over the place. It's a sharp contrast to what we saw with Isaac. Isaac didn't go out to find a wife. The servant went out. And yet, because of Jacob's deceit, he didn't really have a choice. He had to flee because he deceived both Esau and Isaac. So when he left, then he got into the situation where he saw Rachel and he liked her because she looked good. With Rebekah, Isaac didn't marry Rebekah just because she looked good, although she was pleasing to him. The reason Rebekah was chosen because of her character, how she treated the servant, and was willing to provide for all of his camels as well. The only thing we see from Rachel here is just jealousy the entire way through. And later on, she has some other character flaws that we'll come across as well. It is also interesting, when it comes to Leah, Leah is the mother of Judah, and she's the mother of Levi. And Jesus is through the line of Judah. So were all the kings. Judah was the father of King David, of Solomon, so all of those. And then Levi was the father of all of the priests. The Levites were the priests, and you're going to have Moses later on coming through Levi as well. So had Jacob obeyed, had he been behaved correctly, he wouldn't have had to go in the first place. And most likely, had he sent for a servant to Laban's house, he would have come back with Leah. There wouldn't have been anyone else. He would have had the sons he was supposed to have without any other problems, no jealousy, nothing. And yet, his sin is just compounded now and increases the sin of everyone around him. Alright, so it goes on further. After Rachel had Joseph, Jacob spoke to Laban. He said, "Send me on my way. I want to go back to my own home and country. Give me my wives and children. I worked for you to get them, so I'll be on my way. You know how much work I've done for you." But Laban said to him, "If you are pleased with me, stay here. I've discovered that the Lord has blessed me because of you." He continued, "Name your pay, I'll give it to you." Jacob said to him, "You know how hard I've worked for you. You know that your livestock has done better under my care. You had only a little before I came, but that little has become a lot. The Lord has blessed you everywhere I've been. But when can I do something for my own family?" "What should I give you?" Laban asked. "Don't give me anything," Jacob replied. "Just do one thing for me. Then I'll go on taking care of your flocks and watching over them. Let me go through all of your flocks today. Let me remove every sheep that has speckles or spots on it. Let me remove every dark-colored lamb. Let me remove every goat that has spots or speckles on it. They will be my pay. My honesty will give witness about me in days to come. It will give witness every time you check on what you have paid me. Suppose I have a goat that doesn't have speckles or spots, or suppose I have a lamb that isn't dark-colored. Then it will be considered stolen." "I agree," said Laban. "Let's do what you have said." So Laban, he thinks he's getting a good deal on this one. He looks throughout his entire flock, and most of the sheep are going to be white, most of the goats are going to be black, most of the cattle are going to be brown. There's only a couple that are going to have speckles or spots. So he's thinking, yeah, Jacob's going to take care of my flock, it's going to continue growing, and I'll give him the little guys on the side. So that same day, Laban removed all of the male goats that had stripes or spots. He removed all the female goats that had speckles or spots. They were the ones that had white on them. He also removed all of the dark-colored lambs. He had his sons take care of them. Then he put a journey of 3 days between himself and Jacob. But Jacob continued to take care of the rest of Laban's flocks. With here, it's a 3-day span. So there's no way that Jacob's flock is going to be able to intermingle and mate with Laban's flock. If he were to do that, then it might be considered that the speckled and striped animals were to be mating with the normal ones, and so that's going to give them speckle and stripes as well. So that's why there's a 3-day span, so this cannot happen. The only way for these sheep and goats to have speckled and striped animals, babies, is if 2 normal colored ones were just to happen to have one that's speckled and striped. Jacob took branches that were freshly cut from poplar, almond, and plane trees. He made white stripes on them by peeling off the bark. He uncovered the white wood inside the branches. Then he placed the peeled branches in all of the stone tubs where the animals drink water. He placed them so they would be right in front of the flocks where they came to drink. The flocks were ready to mate when they came to drink, so they mated in front of the branches, and they had little ones that were striped or speckled or spotted. Jacob put the little ones of the flock to one side by themselves, but he made the older ones face the striped and dark-colored animals that belonged to Laban. In that way, he made separate flocks for himself. He didn't put them with Laban's animals. There's a couple things about this passage. One, Jacob, he's a long-time shepherd. He was taking care of Isaac's flock as well, so he knew what was going on here. By cutting the bark off, making the stripes on the branches that he put into the water, some believe that it's a prenatal influence, that these animals, when they saw the stripes on the bark, that they would end up having striped babies. Other people consider that it's a superstition thing that was going on there, but it can also be when you peel off the bark that it lets out some of the chemicals in there, the sugars and other things, and that this would influence the color of the babies as well. We do know one reason why people shouldn't be drinking when they have babies is because it gets passed to them. It can interfere with that. So there's a number of different reasons that would cause this influence to occur. So every time the stronger females were ready to mate, Jacob would place the branches in the stone tubs. He would place them in front of the animals so they would mate near the branches. But if the animals were weak, he wouldn't place the branches there. So the weak animals went to Laban and the strong ones went to Jacob. In this way, Jacob became very rich. He became the owner of large flocks. He also had many male and female servants, and he had many camels and donkeys. So he grew his flock. We don't know exactly how Jacob was able to do it. Some of it could have just been they knew something about shepherding that we don't, as far as genetics is concerned. Or we're going to find later on that God says that he's the one who caused this to happen. So even if Jacob was trying to do something that wouldn't work based on superstition, well, it was still going to work because God was there and God was going to bless Jacob. Okay, that's it for Genesis chapter 30. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you guys next time.